All right, everybody, thank you for your patience. And again, I want to welcome those of you watching on Timberwolves.com as well as the live stream on Facebook. Gersson Rosas, President of Basketball Operations, Ryan Saunders, the head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, are up here. We will open it for questions. A reminder again, please, when you put your hand up for a microphone, it'll be brought to you. When you do ask a question, state your name and your affiliation for those at home. And before we open it up for questions, we're going to begin with an opening statement from Gersson.
First off, thank you everyone for being here today. We really appreciate it. And for me personally, 5 months ago we were talking about vision and philosophy. And as we get to this stage, there's still a lot of work to do, but you feel the impact of what's going on here. And for us, we've moved from philosophy to vision to people. And I hope all of you get an opportunity to see the players on that roster and what they're all about and what they mean to this program. The people on coach's staff and who they are and what they're all about, and the people in our front office staff, because they're really the ones that are going to impact this program, they're going to impact this market, and where you'll see the tangible change that we talked about. So thank you very much for being here with us today.
And with that, we're going to open up the floor for questions, and if we can get the mics brought around.
Where's Kyle?
And we'll begin with Kyle Radke from Timberwolves.com.
Kyle Radke, Timberwolves.com. Gersson, obviously it was a busy offseason for you guys, but what were your goals going into the offseason, and how did you guys accomplish those goals?
So for us, it was going through an evaluation process and a transition process in terms of our new head coach, our new coaching staff, and then how our roster fit into that. And then additionally, building a front office that represents our vision for this organization moving forward. So we've had a lot to do, but we're very proud of the work that we've done, the people that are in this organization now. And, we still have the stages of growing this project, and it's the identity, it's executing the philosophy and bringing everybody together. But it's been a productive summer. We feel like we've built a foundation. The work that our players have put in, our coaches have put in, and our front office, gets us to a point where we're ready to start the season.
John Krasinski from The Athletic. Ryan, in the early days of training camp, as you guys hit the floor, what are you going to be looking for and emphasizing to try and start the right foundation, make sure you're headed the way that you want to be going?
Yeah, as we move to Mankato for these first couple days here, conditioning is going to be a major emphasis of ours. We really want to make sure that we're in best shape possible. And it's a big credit to our players, the fact that we've had if not all of them, the majority of them here for the last month and month plus. So they've been able to get with our trainers, get with our wellness staff, and really get their bodies right, because for us to be a faster paced team, we need to be in better shape, and we all understand that. There's a number of things, obviously, we want to make sure to focus on early on in the process. Defense is going to be a major component of that, of our practices in these first couple days especially. Really trying to lay a foundation. We've been able to install some concepts and individual work with players where we can really work on that through the summertime. And then we saw in the summer league, our defense, we were able to see some of those schemes and see how they would fare against competition. But then also shooting. We want to make sure we get a lot of shots up. So it's kind of a threefold thing right now.
Jace Frederick, Pioneer Press. Gersson, you talked about how this project is a work in progress. So what metrics are you going to use to gauge the successes of this season?
For us, we want to build something that's sustainable. For us, it's not the fact of just, hey, get in the playoffs or just have a winning record. For us, is building a foundation of success that over time will allow us to contend at the highest level, and that's for a championship. And the things that matter for us day in and day out is that we're maximizing the talent that we have here. We have unbelievably talented players that make our core up, and we're investing in them in every part possible, whether that's on the court, off the court. And our success is going to be measured over time. Wins and losses are a big part of it, the growth of players, player development, our growth as an organization as a whole. But at the end of the day, the commitment that we have to not only our players but our ownership is to do something that's never been done here.
Britt Robson with The Athletic. Obviously, there are some things that are beyond your control, but within the things that you can control, what are your greatest sources of concern heading into this season?
I mean, the unknown is always the biggest concern, and our due diligence is to make sure that we're prepared for anything that we can be. But the reality is the things that we can control are the things that we're really having success with. You know, to be able to look back and know that we had our full roster, 20 players here for over 2.5 weeks going into the season is something that's unheard of in the NBA. To know that we've got top-flight coaches and staffs working with our guys, changing our philosophy, changing our style of play is incredible. A front office that's as diverse and rich as any in this league, and with the capability to not only look back and learn at what's happened, but look forward and create strategies and opportunities to take advantage is what's going to make us great.
Dane Moore, zone coverage. Ryan, you brought up the wanting to play faster, but also how kind of the defense ties into that. What type of defense do you have to play to be able to be as fast as you want to be in the pace that you want to play with?
Yeah. No, and that's a good question, and I think it can be answered with, to play faster, your defense can become your offense. So in a way, you're a team that's forcing turnovers. You're being solid, though. You're not putting yourself in predicaments at the rim where guys are having to rotate, things like that. You're able to try to force teams, the shots that we want, the shots that we value, you try to force teams into the shots that we don't want, basically, which would, be the mid-range twos, things like that. And then obviously you need to become a better defensive rebounding team, because to get to offense, you got to be able to corral the ball. And one thing that I do feel very good about this team among a number of things, but one thing I always feel good about with this group especially is how hard they're going to play. And they've shown that through this summer, and everything that these guys have done have so far have proven that.
Gersson, you've said multiple times in this offseason that you've centered this team around Karl-Anthony Towns. I guess you both can answer this. How has he responded to that, and how does this team move forward from there?
Ryan will have better perspective because he's been with Carl a longer period of time, but I've been very blessed and humbled to be around a lot of great players in this league, and to see at his age and just to dig in deeper into how great of a player he is pretty impressive. I mean, we sat down with him recently and talked about, philosophy, projections, how we see him, who he can become, and it's staggering. I mean, you guys that have done the research know at what level the things that he's done and how that translates into the future. But the message is the same for him as it is for all 15 or 20 guys on that roster. We want to do something meaningful. We want to do something that's about winning and about legacy, and he cares about that. But his commitment as the best player on the team has impressed me to no end. I mean, being here in Minnesota, being a part of the projects that we've done this summer on the court, off the court, supporting teammates, supporting the organization. We're about actions over words, and to see a superstar take that in and really make it something important and personal is very meaningful. But then from the basketball point, and Coach can talk to it a little bit more in terms of style of play, but it's our job to get the right philosophy, to get the right roster, to put him in the best places to be successful. And that takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of effort. We're going to be very aggressive. We feel very strongly about the team that needs to be around him on offense, on defense, and what those players look like. And now it's up to us, and that's going to take time. But what he controls and what's in his hands is his development and his growth, and we've challenged him, and every step of the way he stepped up to the challenge.
Yeah, I think the word challenge is one that Carl, among a number of the guys that we have on this roster, they're willing to accept that. And when we talked about leadership, we talked about servant leadership, and not just with Cat, but with a number of players on this team. We want to be a committee of leaders. We understand that there needs to be, one voice majority of the time, especially when it's coming from the locker room. A lot of times it'll be the older players, but players need to feel that they have ownership of the team, and that's one of the things that we want to make sure to continue to put in their circle when they're in the locker room, when they talk about things, they talk through things. And Carl's been he's been a big leader when it comes to that. When it comes to on the court, we've been able to see him in some open run activity. He is trying to be more of a facilitator. He is trying to get his shots in different ways, and which falls into him taking the challenge.
Chris Hine from the Star Tribune. Ryan, how much thought have you given to lineups, things like that. How much of that is going to be maybe dictated by analytics, how guys play with each other, or maybe in-game matchup?
All of the above. Everything will play into it. And to answer your first question, this summer we've spent a lot of time as a staff, spent time with our analytics department, which I feel is the best in the NBA. We have a number of things that we've kind of gone through, and we've seen how players who weren't here last year have played with similar comps in terms of if they raise that player's value, or if they might be somebody that takes away from what they do and what their strengths are. I've said it before, obviously an obvious statement, but it's going to be a competitive training camp. We have a number of guys that we all have something to prove, and with that, we have guys that we say we want to compete every day, compete for minutes, compete for roster spots, compete for starting positions. So rotation-wise, it'll be very open, but we feel very good about the guys that we have on this team, and being able to have a lot of guys. That means you have some talent on the roster. Have a lot of guys that can compete for spots.
Jim Souhan, start with you. Your players spent more time together this summer than the previous summer. What does that mean to you, and how can that benefit you?
Yeah, I mean, it's it's one of those things we want to make sure to look to the future, and we can just control what we can control. And one of those things is how these guys bond off the court. We feel relationships, especially inter-locker room relationships, are very important as these players move towards a training camp, move towards preseason. Obviously, there's different seasons. Then you got the regular season and postseason. With that, we hope that these relationships off the court, and we feel that they'll carry you through the dog days of the season, or the tough days of the season, or the hard stretches with things. So we'd like to say that we feel it will impact on the court, but over time, a lot of things have to come together for that.
Britt Robson again. This is a question for both of you. Have you talked about what happens when the schemes and systems you want to implement don't necessarily match up right now with the personnel? And when that happens, how will you lean, do you think?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about it, but we feel good, not in depth at this moment, because we feel good about our schemes, and we feel good about what we're going to put out there, on the offensive end, on the defensive end, and then I add culturally in with those other two parts of the game. So we feel good about that. But the game is one of those things. Professional sports, you adjust on the fly with things. But we feel good where we are right now.
Yeah, I would just add, the way we're building this thing out is there's fundamental things that are important to us, and wins or losses impact the standing of the team. But what we want to build is more than one season, is more than 1 year. We believe in coach and our shared philosophy, our shared vision of how we want to play. And it's a process to educate our players, and our players are committed to it. We're fortunate we've had a great offseason where they're understanding what we want from them on both ends. Night in and night out, it might not look pretty, but you've got to be able to take a step back and realize why you're doing what you're doing and learn from those mistakes. So for us, it's we don't want to be wavering back and forth. There are things that we believe in. To Coach's point, we'll make adjustments as need be. But I can't talk enough about our depth as a group. And to Coach's point, there's going to be a lot of competition, and that's going to make us who we are. We've got a young group of players that, for the most part, are unproven. But we see them as very good system fits with the potential to take a big step forward in our system. So the analysis of how we play on offense, how we play on defense, how they grow, how they develop, it's tough for the media and the fans. They don't have the perspective we have in terms of how we're growing this thing out. But we're doing it with a big picture perspective. We're building a strong foundation, and we believe in the guys that are here and the work that we're going to do.
Ryan, a lot of these players have come out in favor of you, obviously in supportive of you getting the job. How do you kind of, as the season starts and as training camp starts, hold them accountable and make sure that you have the good parts of a player's coach, but maybe not some of the other ones that other people have worried about in the past?
Yeah, I think a common conception of, when somebody comes out in support of somebody, it's because everybody would think that, hey, it's just because they like him, or because he's always good to him, he's always nice to him. But I'm just going to continue to do what I've been doing, and that is holding players accountable. in my own way, and making sure that we're getting better every day. I've talked about it a lot. We can't skip days, can't skip steps in terms of how we want this thing to build out. And we talk about our style of play and the education part of things. We've spent a lot of time this summer, between myself, Gersson, the rest of our staff, spent a lot of time with these players on what we value and what we envision for this the future of this team. So to me, it's just continuing to do what we've been doing, but also obviously do it at a heightened level too.
John Meyer, Canis Hoopus. What does Andrew Wiggins need to show you guys this season to say he's taking the right step forward and he's getting back on track to that max level player that you guys once thought he was?
So I'm coming in with not having the history with Andrew. So to be fair with him, I'm giving him a clean slate. But we've had some real heart-to-heart conversation this summer, and him along with 19 other guys on the team right now. And it's, where do we want to go? We're fortunate and we're very grateful to Glenn and Becky Taylor and to our corporate group that's supporting us, but our commitment to the players is world-class, and you guys are seeing that here with press conference and everything. But what we're doing in this building, what we're doing in that building, there's a natural built-in commitment because of how we're taking care of our guys, and there's a standard there's a purpose to what we're doing. And Andrew's not the only guy. There's a lot of young guys that need to take steps forward, but him specifically, he's an incredibly talented player. He's got great physical tools, and he's a good guy. It's a matter of putting him in a position to be successful. And I'm very confident in the relationship him and Coach have. I really feel like the things that we're talking about are tangible. It's not generic conversations. It's offense, defense. It's how we're going to play and how we're going to move forward. And he's committed to it. The good thing for him and the good thing for us is that our goals are correlated. As he has success, we're going to have success. And as we're able to do things meaningful here in this market, which he's very passionate about, we're all going to be successful. But you have to have those conversations. You have to give them the understanding of what those expectations are. And then we've got to live through it together and see what we need to do moving forward.
I'll add to that, Andrew's commitment to the team and to the growth of this team this summer has been tremendous. And he's done that by, coming into market more times in the summertime than he probably has as of late. And for that reason, we feel that we've been able to help educate him on using analytics and then using game film also on what we feel is going to help unlock him. And I feel very strongly that Andrew is going to have a great season for us, not just for himself, but for this team. Because if Andrew has a great season, which we expect him to, this team is going to be a team that continues to rise. And another thing to add is that I've known him since he was about 18 now, and there's I haven't seen a lot of players that love this market like Andrew does, and he really does love being here in Minnesota. And so with that, with the passion, with his commitment, we feel he's going to have a good season.
Gersson, Mike Max, WCCO. Philosophically, you had a lot of parts, guys, probably your second five, so to speak. You're in a market in Houston where it was kind of superstar driven. Do you believe you need to have 2 or 3 all-stars to be great at the NBA, or do you believe you can have 10 or 12 pretty good guys and win and be a playoff contender?
It's a classical question in our league right now, and makes it tougher when you're in the West, in the historical West. But I would tell you, the more superstars you can get, the easier our life is. And that's my goal. That's what I've known. That's what we've done in the past, and that's what we're going to continue to do. So, number one, it's developing our players. We believe there's high-end talent here. There's guys here that are young, that are growing and developing. We're going to put everything in them to see if they're all-star superstars to surround around Cat. Wiggins is one of those guys, and we've got young guys in the program that can take that next step forward. The reality is the formula to win championships, you need multiple all-stars. You need multiple superstars. So that's our focus, whether that's in the draft, and we believe a lot in a guy like Jared Culver and what his future holds. Josh Okogie is in the mix as well to be a special player. But if not, we're going to be very aggressive. Trades, free agency, they don't happen overnight. And just because a player is an all-star, doesn't necessarily mean that he fits here. We've got to find the right pieces. And for us, we're not looking at this as what's going to happen tonight or tomorrow. It's what's going to happen over the next 3 years, what's going to happen over the next 5 years, what's going to happen over the next 7 years, and how we can build that core of special talent to grow and develop. Because as I said earlier, we want to have a sustainable approach. We want to be a winning team. We want to be in the playoffs consistently. And we want to be contending over time. So for us, it's my job, it's our staff's job to get the most talent we can in this program.
Norman C. Wright, also from WCCO. When you talk about what you're developing with these guys over time, and character is something you focus on when you have someone in this program, what kind of personality over time do you want to develop with this program?
I'd say the guys that we have in that locker room are all high character players. And with that, we want that to, show on the court, obviously, but you have a competitive group in there too. We want to be a group that plays hard every night. I said earlier, I don't see that being an issue with this team. But then as you move back off the court, what you want this group to be for this market, which is a very special market, you want these guys to do good away from the competition court and do good in the community, ingrain themselves. So in terms of the character, we feel very good about what we have in there and how it'll translate off the court especially.
To that point, I think we're looking for professionals that are passionate and have character. The guys that we have there love to play. I mean, we're kicking guys out of the gym left and right because we want to make sure they don't burn out and they're ready for training camp. They're ready for the regular season. We love that. We need guys in there that care about winning, that it's important to them, not just, individual stats, but the legacy they're going to leave behind by the success that they have in this market. And also individuals that care about this market and know what they represent, whether it's ownership or the organization or our fans. It's important that they understand, and it's a tangible connection. They're in the community, they're in the market. To Coach's point, Andrew's a guy that cares deeply about Minnesota, and with that, we're going to be able to get the passion for him to be an impact for this team.
Mr. G and Coach Pete Rose, BMA Networks. I was really impressed last season with all the outreach for the community. You talked about the front office being diverse. You got a new GM. What it looks like now under your administration moving forward to connect the communities even more around what the Timberwolves are doing in the community this season?
I'll talk about the front office. I'll let Coach speak on his staff. But it's near and dear to my heart. Being a Latino, being the first Latino in this role, it's not something that you're just given and you enjoy it. It comes with a responsibility. And we've really looked, as we built our front office, we want to be the most diverse front office, but not only from backgrounds, but perspectives. We want to erase any blind spots. People see the game in different ways, whether you're a former player or you have an analytics perspective or you have a scout's perspective. We want to make sure we have no blind spots. And we're very fortunate. We've gathered a special group of talented people from all walks of life. And I'd encourage all of you guys, get to know our guys. They're going to be around, but they're brilliant people that are passionate about basketball. They're passionate about this market, and more importantly, they're good teammates who want to do something great. So we're very fortunate to have them here, and I think this market on the court and off the court, we'll see that it's a reflection of them, their values, their background, their character.
I could say all the same things about our coaching staff. We feel very good about the diversity of the staff, as well as the perspectives that all these guys bring. We have a number of guys that are very, their backgrounds when it comes to player development, their track records speak for themselves, whether it be all-stars or developing guys that maybe weren't, necessarily NBA players into very good contributing rotation starter type level players. But then also you have guys like Pablo Prigioni, you have guys like David Vanterpool, guys who played in Europe. David coached over in Europe, Pablo coached, guys who give that different perspective. You have guys that have G League experience. We have a number of staff members, both in the coaching, on the coaching staff as well as kind of our video staff as well, who have played in the NBA. So adding all that along with a devoted analytics individual for us is big. When it comes to off the court, everybody knows my connection to Minnesota, so I don't need to get deep into that, but it's important. It's important to leave a lasting legacy here because we feel that there's such special people here in Minnesota, and we want to be that as an organization here.
We're going to wrap it up quick. Before I let you guys go, though, I do have one quick question for each of you. Ryan, you're going to Mankato with the team this evening. Can you talk real quick about the decision to go to Mankato?
Yeah. So Mankato, we haven't been there for, I'd say I want to say 3-4 years here. But it was important to us to get there. One, not just because Mr. Taylor, does so much for the community down there, but also a reason for us to get away. And for our group to get away for even if it's just being a couple days where we can be there, we can really just focus on the work, the task at hand, and really set a tone for everybody. And then also we'll enjoy our lasagna dinner at Mr. Taylor's too, and so I got to make sure that that's thrown in there.
And Gersson, we know Ryan has pretty strong suit game. Are you serving notice here that he's going to be challenged this season?
Hey, Ryan and I are aligned at all levels, and competitively as well. So.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. Appreciate your time. And with that, we're going to take a very brief break, but we're going to start bringing players up here, so hang tight, and we'll be back in just a minute.
Thank you, guys.